Hey everybody, give it just a second here. Hopefully it'll pop up on our screen. Oh, yay, it's working. I was having some technical problems this morning, so keep our fingers crossed and knock on wood that doesn't continue. That's always fun. Monday morning. How are you guys doing? Hey, can you guys hear me okay? Hi, Tyrone. Hey, Caroline. Hey, Sabna. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. If you cannot, let me know in the chat. Or if you can, let me know in the chat. Yes, thank you, guys. Thank you. So, hopefully, you guys had a great weekend and you're ready to jump back into studying. Woohoo! It's Monday. And so, today we're going to do some more vocabulary. Next week, I'm going to get off of my vocabulary kick, but I've been trying to go through and do some vocabulary because I know lately when I've been talking to folks, they have told me that they're having trouble with the vocabulary section. So I'm like, okay, let's zone in on that a little bit. So, anybody passed their test this week? Let us know. In the meantime, we'll jump into our first question. All right, the legal fiction that signifies that a reasonable person or entity could have known of a legal action to be taken or to be taken, even if the person has no actual, no actual knowledge of it. Is it a writ of execution, lis pendens, actual notice, or constructive notice? This is the legal fiction that signifies that a reasonable person or entity could have known of a legal action to be taken or taken. Is it a writ of execution, lis pendens, actual notice, or constructive notice? All right, you guys are off to a good start here. And yes, oops, there we go. Constructive notice, right? Constructive notice is what we, hold on, it's not following me here. 1 second. Bear with me. It's not capturing the screen. There we go. Okay, that's better. So you guys can actually see it. So this is constructive notice. It's what we should have known, what we're expected to know, right? There's a difference between constructive notice and actual notice. Constructive notice is what we're expected to know. Actual notice is what we've actually seen for ourselves, what we actually know. So if I file my deed at the courthouse, I'm giving the world constructive notice that I own the property. Now, if you go down to the courthouse and you look at my deed and you read that and you know that I own the property, that's the actual notice part. See the difference? So actual notice is what we know to be true. Constructive notice is what we should have known. All right, let's see. We're going to do one that I don't think we've ever, or at least I've not done with you guys. So here's a question. In New York, you guys who are taking the New York test, there's lots of like construction of house type questions on there, but this applies to all of us. This morning I was talking to an agent and she was talking about interpreting the home inspection for her client. She's an agent that works with me. And we were talking about, the basics of what goes into a house. So you will be a better agent if you understand how houses work. I mean, we aren't expected to be experts in that. That's what the home inspector is for. But if we can read a home inspection report and actually understand what's going on there, it's going to help us when we go to negotiate repairs and things, right? What's vital to a house to have? What kinds of things should it have? What kinds of things should it not have? And that's one of the things that I was talking about this morning with one of the agents from my office. Like, there's a lot that goes into these home inspection reports. They can be really lengthy. So yeah, good information to have. So a wall that supports the weight of a part of a structure, in addition to its own weight, is foundation wall, hip wall, support wall, or load-bearing wall. Yeah, you guys, this is the load-bearing wall. So let me tell you something. What happens if we just go and like just yank out a load bearing wall? We're like, you know what? I don't like this wall here. I'm going to take it out. It's in my way. I'm just going to knock it down. What would happen to the house if we did that? Anybody know? Put it in the chat if you know. I can tell you I have seen what will happen over time when a load bearing wall was removed and nothing was put there, no header beam, no nothing to support that wall. And what happens is that the house starts to kind of like cave in a little bit, right? It starts to sag because that load bearing wall has to be there. I had a house that I bought a sheriff's auction one time, and somebody had taken out the load bearing wall like 40 years earlier, and wow, you know, it really did cause that house to settle in the middle, caused all kinds of problems. So we don't want to just go around ripping out walls unless we know that they're not load bearing walls, that they're just there cosmetically, right? All right. Regulations that control the use of land within a jurisdiction. Regulations that control the use of land within a jurisdiction is that escheat, eminent domain, zoning, or building codes. Escheat, eminent domain, zoning, or building codes. And remember, we're talking about the use of land here. Charlena, you might have to go out and come back in. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm sorry. So if you, I guess you can't hear me, but if you could hear me, hopefully if somebody could put in the chat to let her know to reboot her entry there, I'd appreciate it. Yeah. All right. So this is the land use is zoning, right? This is the zoning. The zoning. Remember, our police powers, the things that the government can tell us to do or not do with our real estate, are called police powers. All right. So police powers could be zoning. They could be building codes. That's the government telling us what we can build and how we can build it. Zoning, what we can build on what piece of land, right? And that so that it matches up with the master plan. Some people include eminent domain. I've seen some textbook include eminent domain as part of police powers, but I kind of see that some don't. And I'm on the camp that I'm like, eminent domain is separate, because in eminent domain, the government is actually taking our property, right? And police powers, they're just telling us what we can do or not do with it, if that makes sense. So I see them as two little different things, right? All right, let's see. Ooh, I'm going to give you guys a really hard one. You ready for a really hard one? All right, a circle or semicircle, at least to me, these are hard. I always get these confused. So a circle or semicircle around the earth in a north and south direction, always touching or passing through the poles. It's used as a guide in surveying, being placed 24 miles apart and running from a baseline. Is that a tier, a meridian, a range line, or a baseline? Now we know we can eliminate baseline because we've already used baseline in the description, right? So let's narrow it down. Is it tier, meridian, or range line? Which one is it? What do you guys think? All right, that is the meridian, right? That's the meridian. And the meridian, we have the principal meridian, the first set of them, and we have other meridians, and they run north and south. They run north and south. Oh, Michelle, congratulations. Oh, yay. Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations. So Michelle passed this week. Woohoo! Oh, awesome. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys have been working hard, and that's what happens, right? Keep working at it. For those of you still working at it, take Michelle's advice there. Keep working at it. Do what you got to do there. All right, an ad which does not identify the broker. Is it a negative ad, a private ad, a ghost ad, or a blind ad? A negative ad, a private ad, a ghost ad, or a blind ad? An ad which does not identify the broker. Yeah, so this is the one that's the blind ad, right? When I'm going in blind. Now, you think about this, and why would this be important? If I just put an ad in the paper and I said, okay, listen, I've got this house for sale. I say, beautiful 3-bedroom home, call Maria at blah, 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 blah. And I put my phone number in there. Now, if you're looking at that ad, you don't know that I'm the broker for that house. You might think I'm the owner of the house, right? It's misleading. It's not legal to do this. We have to include the broker's name, the brokerage's name in the ad, or else that's illegal, right? Oh, thank you, JC. That's very sweet of you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it has to have the broker's name in that ad, definitely. For our state laws and just for common sense, right? So think of it like this. Would you be frustrated if you called an ad and you come to find out that you're not talking to the owner, but you're talking to an agent? I mean, let's say it was legal. It's not, but let's say it was. That would be very frustrating because you're like, wait, I want to know who I'm talking to here, right? So we do have to do this. We have to do this both for the legality of it and for the good customer service of it. All right. Let me find another one. A contract under which, for a consideration, one party agrees to indemnify another for a possible loss under specific conditions is called. So this is a very complicated description of what? A contract under which, for a consideration, one party agrees to indemnify another for a possible loss under specific conditions is called pledge, laches, interest, or insurance. What do you guys think? All right. This one's a little bit confusing to some people. Everybody's like all over the board on this. This is just a really complex description of insurance, right? This is insurance. So basically, they're saying, hey, we're going to cover you for a loss. What does insurance do? It covers us when we have a loss. So if I go out and I go out and I wreck my car and I have insurance on it, they're going to cover my loss, right? That's how it works. That's how insurance works. So Bella had a question. She says, is it true the material and prep agent is for national, not really specific for state? Bella, yes and no. It depends on what state that you're in. We have a ton of state materials for a bunch of different states. There are a few states, and I cannot quote them off the top of my head, that we don't have the state-specific practice exam questions, but the vast majority of states, we do have state-specific practice exam questions. I don't remember which each of them are, but the webinars are geared towards your national portion because we've got so many people from so many different states. That's why we don't get into state law in the webinars, but on your practice exams and prep agent, you most likely have, unless you're in a few very small states, you most likely have some state-specific practice exams there to help you. Okay, so a contract formed by, California, we definitely have a ton of questions for California-specific, Bella. That's right. Sorry, I forgot you're in California. I knew that, but I wasn't thinking because I was multitasking here. So, yeah, California, definitely we do. Okay, a contract formed by the actions of the parties rather than by their written or oral agreement. Is it a void contract, an express contract, a voidable contract, or an implied contract? This is not, they're not writing anything down. They're not giving an oral agreement. They're just acting as if they have a contract. What's that description meet? What do you guys think? Void contract, express contract, voidable contract, or implied contract. Now we know it's not an express contract. We know it's not B because why? They have not written anything down or said anything. So if I have an express contract, it's either verbal or written. I've expressed myself. But here I haven't done that. So this makes that an implied contract. I'm acting as if I have a contract, but I don't actually have anything in writing. I don't have anything said out loud. We're just going along. That's the way we're doing things. Now, we should not be doing that in real estate, right? We have to have contracts in writing, with the exception of some short-term leases, in order for them to be enforceable in court. What law, you guys, what law tells us that in order for a contract to be enforceable, we have to have it in writing in real estate? What law tells us that? What law and what real estate law? This is another vocabulary term we need to know, right? The statute of frauds. The statute of frauds. Awesome. All right. Let me find one. Ooh, let's do this one. I'm trying to find some kind of tricky ones that you guys might not have memorized. Okay. In addition to a will, which modifies the will by adding to it, subtracting from it, or clarifying it. So this is when we're talking about a will here. In addition to a will, which modifies the will by adding to it, subtracting from it, or clarifying it. Is it a waiver, an abstract, a codicil, or novation. Oh, I can't trick you guys today. You're just too good today. Everybody knows all these. Let's see. Codicil. Codicil has to do with a will. It's an amendment to a will, right? A codicil. I just like that word. It's kind of a cool word, right? Sometimes you're like, oh, that's a kind of a neat word. I don't know why. I think it's kind of cool. All right. Ooh, let me see if I can trick you guys. Does anybody know what a handwritten will is called? I know this was a question that a lot of times they ask on the Illinois practice exams for some reason, because they're really into like the writing and things like that. What is a will that I just scribble down on a piece of notebook paper called? Yeah, Aramis got it. Holographic. Chardonnay got it. Yes, lots of people knew that one. That's the holographic will. Oh, I can't stump you guys today. You're too good. All right, let's see if I can find one that's a little bit harder. All right. A set of legal rights afforded to the real estate title holder. It can include the right of possession, the right of control, the right of exclusion, the right of enjoyment, and the right of disposition. Is it the rights of a statehood, the facts of transference, littoral rights, or the bundle of rights? What do you guys think? Which one is this one? Okay, we've got bundle of rights coming in the lead. Bundle of rights. But let's talk about, how do we remember? Candace said, like, I think it was last Monday or one of the Mondays when we were doing our thing together, she was like, oh, I think of it as a pile of sticks. And that's how we were taught. I don't know if they're still teaching that way, but they would say, oh, this is this pile of sticks, and you pick them up and you put them in a bundle, and that's your rights. And what are each of the sticks? And so the reason why we remember that, the bundle of rights being a bundle of sticks, and what are those sticks? So we remember the sticks, or at least I remember the sticks, with the little acronym Deep C, right? DEE, P, and then the letter C. The D is what, guys? What is the D in Deep C? Anybody know? What do you guys know is the D in Deep C? Oh, PIT is for joint tenancy, though. This is for bundle of rights. So Deep C is the one for bundle of rights. So we have D is disposition, right? Disposition. The E, very good. Jim, I got it. Yeah, the E is enjoyment. The next E is exclusion. If I don't like you, I can tell you, stay off my property, right? The P is possession. I have the right to possess property. And the C is control. So those are our basic rights that come along with home ownership. Awesome, you guys. That's our bundle of sticks, our bundle of rights. Let's do this one. A comprehensive plan to guide the long-term physical development of a particular area. A comprehensive plan to guide the long-term physical development of a particular area. Is it balance sheet? Is it zoning? Is it master plan? Or is it public report? What do you guys think? What is this guide called? Absolutely. The master plan. We've got to have a plan. We can't just go building a city without a plan. Now, I'm not going to name which state does this, but there's a state that is close to me that I sometimes drive through that prides itself in being kind of lax about its zoning rules. And so in its rules about construction and that kind of thing, they want everybody to kind of be able to be free and do their own thing. But what happens is we'll have you'll be driving down the road and there's like a mansion next to a 800 square foot modular, right? And then you've got, a school over here and a bar down the street, and it gets kind of be chaos, right? It gets kind of chaotic. So it's great if you're the guy who has the small house next to the mansion, right? That would help you probably to have this really impressive neighbor, but it doesn't really help the mansion guy too much because he's got this little teeny house next to him and it doesn't really kind of gel. It doesn't flow. It doesn't feel right. So let's talk about that. When we have a really over the top nice property and an area of average properties, the value of that over the top property is going to be brought down due to the principle of regression. I'm regretting overbuilding, right? But the value of the little guy is going to be helped up by the nice fancy houses around it. That's the principle of progression, right? When my value goes up because my neighbors are superior in size and stuff. Yeah. So conformity is important, right? Conformity in real estate. I know a lot of times we say, well, you want to go march to the beat of your own drummer, you want to be a trailblazer, you want to be a thought leader, whatever. And as human beings, lack of conformity and trying to be different can sometimes work out well. But the rule of thumb in real estate is that when things look alike, not too much alike, but when things look fairly much alike, that they're going to hold their value better than rather than if we have a hodgepodge of things, which is why when you go to a new construction neighborhood, you're going to see the houses are fairly similar in size, fairly similar in amenities, that sort of thing. So everything can hold its value a little bit better. Yeah, the rule of conformity. Exactly. Okay. Let's do this one next. A clause in a listing which states that if a property is sold during a specified period of time after the expiration of the listing to a buyer procured by a broker, a commission shall be owed. Let me read it one more time because that was a mouthful. It is a clause in a listing which states that if a property is sold during a specified period of time after the expiration of a listing to a buyer procured by the broker, a commission shall be owed. Is that acceleration clause, alienation clause, assumption clause, or safety clause? What do you guys think? Yeah, that's the broker protection clause or the safety clause. The safety clause, right? Basically, it's saying that if I introduced a buyer to your property and then we go along and a week after that property listing expires, you come back with that buyer and you make a deal with them and you cut me out of the deal, the broker protection clause or the safety clause would protect that person's commission, that broker's commission. Now, that doesn't mean that after the listing expired, if you meet some guy at the bowling alley and you sell him your house and I had nothing to do with it as the broker, that I get to come back and claim it because it's in that period of time. No, it's just if I have introduced you to that situation, like if I introduced a buyer that way. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's see. Yeah. Let me think what's next. Oh, Christina, I see what you're saying. Or Krista, I see what you're saying. Oh, Krista, by the way, thank you for sending me that question in the email. I did get that. I just haven't had a chance to talk to Stu about it, but I will. I appreciate that. I did get your email. Okay, a court action to remove any claim or cloud on title of property, of real property. Court action to remove any claim or cloud on title of real property. Is it a writ of execution, a quiet title action, an injunction, or a cloud on title? Now remember, this is the court action, you guys. Court action. Jacqueline, why do realtors have you sign in at an open house? I would say more the reason why is because they are trying to get your business. So they will follow up with you after the open house to see if they can go show you other properties and turn you into a client. Because I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. There's a couple reasons why we do open houses, and it is quiet title action. But let's talk about that for a second. So why do agents do open houses? And why do new agents even go out and volunteer their Sunday afternoon to do open houses that they don't have the listing on? All the more reason, right? Well, the reason why is because the hope is that people who come into the open house will be unaffiliated with an agent, will be looking for an agent. They'll meet you in the open house, they'll like you, and they'll sign up to work with you as their buyer's agent, right? That's one reason. Another reason why we do it is because we want sellers to be happy. We want them to see us doing an honest effort to market their property and getting people in and having them look at the property. So two reasons. We want to make the seller happy and hopefully bring in potential buyers to see the house as they're kind of cruising the streets looking for things to look at. And also we want to hook up with buyers there who are unattached to an agent and become their agents. So there's two reasons why we do the open houses. Yeah, to get more business and marketing. Yeah, exactly, Krista. You're talking to people that you know want to buy. Now, Krista said you're talking to people that you know want to buy already. But I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. I have a friend. I will not name my friend in this publicly large venue, but I have a friend who likes to be nosy and look at other people's homes for decorating ideas. So she goes around on Sundays with her mother with no intention of ever buying another house. She already has a house that she likes a lot, and she kind of just nosies through other people's homes. The same reason why we watch HGTV, I guess. It's like live HGTV for her. So not everybody, and sometimes it's nosy neighbors. So sometimes people who come to the open house aren't necessarily actively looking to buy a house. They're just kind of being nosy, and that's okay. That's okay. It's fine. Because then they might go out and tell a friend, or if it's a nosy neighbor, they might tell their nephew or whatever, hey, I just walked through this house that was open in my neighborhood and I think you'd really like it. So everybody's welcome at the open house, right? Everybody can eat one of my cookies for free and come see my house. You guys are guilty of this. Everybody is laughing. Now, for me, I've seen enough houses in my lifetime that I'm good, and I'm not much of a decorator. So that doesn't appeal to me, but I can see why people would think it's fun. All right. So a lease in which the amount of rent paid by the lessee is a percentage of the gross income. A lease in which the amount of rent paid by the lessee is a percentage of the gross income. Is it percentage lease? Is it net lease? Is it gross lease? Or is it sandwich lease? Yeah, somebody said I love the parade of homes for that. I always go to the one where they do, I guess that's probably what they call it, where we call it Homerama in Cincinnati, where they show off the big fancy houses that they just built, and they give the real estate agents free tickets to come see that because they charge other people. And I'm always I used to drag my kids hey, let's go. We got to see the Homerama houses because those would be really over the top, fabulous houses. They were really neat to look at. All right. Applies to 1 to 4 family residential dwellings. It is mainly there to give consumers information when shopping for settlement services. Look at that word. What do we associate with settlement? Which one of these laws do we associate with settlement? Is it TILA, RESPA, FHA, or ADA? Remember, TILA stands for Truth in Lending Act. RESPA stands for the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. FHA and Federal Housing Administration, and ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. Yeah. So this one's going to be RESPA, you guys. When we're settling up in the end, RESPA talks about what services we could have shopped for settlement. Yeah. So this one's RESPA. Let me see if I can come up with another question that goes with this. What else can we say? Oh, you guys, okay, so we know that RESPA does this. But RESPA does some other things. What else does RESPA say we can or cannot do? What's another key that we want to associate with RESPA? So I'm thinking of the no kickbacks thing, right? We're not allowed to pay kickbacks between each other. The lender can't get a kickback for referring a buyer to the broker, that sort of thing. Everything has to be above board. Another lesser known or lesser talked about, I guess I should say, thing that RESPA does is it tells the lenders what minimum standards the loan has to meet in order to be sold off to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and the secondary market, right? If they want to sell it through the traditional secondary market through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the loan has to meet certain standards, or else we call it a non-conforming loan. So if it conforms to RESPA standards, that's a conforming loan. If it don't, it's a non-conforming loan. So if it doesn't, it's a non-conforming loan. Rags to Riches asked, what are kickbacks? So kickbacks are when I'm giving somebody money for a referral, right? That's a good example of a kickback. Not allowed to do that under RESPA, the people involved in the deal, right? All right, let's do this one. Allows a property to continue to be used in the same way it always has been, even if it doesn't comply with zoning laws. Is that a grandfather clause, downzoning, variance, or escheat? Grandfather clause, downzoning, variance, or escheat. Oh, thank you, Tyrone. Yes, if I'm helping you out today, let them know they should keep me around by hitting the like button. I appreciate that. It helps spread the word too to those who didn't get to attend with us live today, so it'll show up in their feed as something important for them. So if it does not comply with zoning laws and it's allowed to be used in the same way, it's a grandfather clause. But what is the difference between a grandfather clause and a variance? So let's think about this. A grandfather clause, I'm allowed to continue doing what I've always done because I had started out the right way and then they had switched gears on me. They changed zoning around me. So they're going to let me continue for a certain period of time using my building the way that it was originally intended because they switched gears on me. However, variance is a little different. In a variance, what's happening there is that I realize that my property isn't useful the way that things are. So I might go to the zoning board usually and ask them and say, listen, I need a variance for my property, and plead my case, and they may give it to me. Let me give you an example. And I know I've used this example before, so if you guys have heard this before, I apologize. But basically, let's say I bought a building lot 20 years ago, and at the time I bought the lot, the setback requirements were a certain amount that I could have built a house on this property. But now they've changed the setback requirements, and now my setback requirements, my yard is my property, my land is too narrow now to build a house, because I have to be set back even more. So I might go to the zoning board and say, look, my property isn't useless. It's kind of useless right now unless you give me this variance. And I plead my case, and they may agree to let me make that change, asking for permission. But I haven't already been doing it. That's the grandfather clause. All right, an estate and real property for the life of a living person. Yeah, if it's something that you haven't been doing yet, but you want to make a change, James, you're applying for a variance. You haven't done it yet. You're asking for permission to do something that breaks the rules a bit. Exactly. So an estate and real property for the life of a living person is an estate upon death, a life estate, an annum estate, or an absolute estate. What do you guys think? Yeah, for the life of a living person is a life estate. So as long as you're alive, you have ownership of the property, but once you pass away, the property either reverts back to the person who gave you the life estate. Remember, that's a reversionary interest, or it goes on to somebody new. That it could be a remainder interest, a remainderman. Depends on how we laid this life estate out, right? That's how it works. Yeah, Carolyn asked if I'm doing a live study webinar with Candace tonight. So yes, good question, Carolyn. So for those of you who are members of our Prep Agent Facebook study group, and make sure you're in the right one. If you missed my statement last week, there's some con men out there trying to pretend to be. They do this with all different kinds of organizations, but they've done it to us as well, that they're a prep agent group. If you're not in the member of the group where Candace, Stu, and I are admins, that's one of those not great, like, fake groups. So make sure you're in the official Prep Agent Facebook group. There's about 49,000 members or so, 50,000, and we're the admins there. And I post in the events once a week. Candace and I have been doing lately a live webinar where we go on video, but we only have 100 seats open for that. So if you want to get in on that every week, just look under the events and we will let you know. And then sometimes if I have your email, I will send out a notice too. Okay, yeah, it's full right now. It's full pretty much every week. It's been filling up. So make sure that you go in and check the events on that group and register on that Vimeo link. Or if you don't have Facebook and you want to be added to my email list where I email that what we're doing with the link, then you can email me through Prep Agent 2 and I'll add you to that so you won't miss anything. Okay, let's see. An appraisal term stating that the general uniformity of structures in an area produces the highest value. Principle of stagnation, principle of conformity, principle of highest and best use, or the principle of contribution. Now this is interesting because we just kind of talked about this, right? What one would produce the highest value if it's uniform? What's uniform? Tell us. It's the principle of conformity, right? The principle of conformity. Yeah. And if you didn't get the notification this time, Sapna, just make sure you check your junk mail because they did go out. And I did send those out in email. So sometimes they get stuck in the junk or spam folder. Sorry about that. But always make sure you check your spam folder. And you know what's funny, guys? I know you guys have heard me harp on this a bunch of times, but as agents, when you become agents, I check my spam folder twice a day because a lot of times things get caught in there that I need. I've had offers on properties get caught in spam, depending on how, I don't know why, but sometimes that happens. So get in the habit now of checking your spam folder frequently. And if you use Yahoo, or Hotmail, okay, or AOL Mail, any of those. Know that the spam filter on those is extremely high and that you are probably missing a lot of things that you wish you were not if you knew about them. So I always suggest to people either get a professional paid email account like through Outlook, or use a Gmail account. If you have to have a free account, use Gmail. You'll be more likely not to miss emails there. So that's just a little bit of real estate agent advice to give to you. You want to change your mindset on email. 90% of your business is going to come from email. It's no longer where you're just like, oh, I want to keep out this certain coupon. You have got to be like on top of the email. So be sure to look out for that and think about that as you transition into becoming an agent. All right. So we have used to make sure the buyer is buying a clean title. Is it title insurance, quiet title action, a deed, or lease pendants? Is it used to make sure the buyer is buying a clean title? Title insurance, quiet title action, a deed, or lease pendants? What do you guys think? Yeah, for sure. The quiet title action would be the court action that we take. Title insurance is what we're looking for here. And that's to make sure that we're buying a house with a clean title, right? With a clean title. Now, what about lease pendants or lease pendants? What does that mean? And that's when the property is involved in litigation and we're letting the world know, hey, by the way, be on the lookout. This property is involved in some kind of a lawsuit. Stay away, right? But the title insurance says what's wrong with the title and what's right with the title, and it's our best assurance that the title is good. All right. Let's do this one. When a landlord agrees to put aside money to change a property according to the tenant's need, is it a tenant improvement allowance? Is it protection improvement fund? Is it security deposit, or is it a safety clause? Is it tenant improvement allowance, protection improvement fund, security deposit, or safety clause? Yeah, here we go, guys. Tenant improvement allowance for sure. The tenant improvement allowance is the money the landlord sets aside to change the property. Like, say that you had a shell, a commercial space that was just a shell, and you wanted to build a restaurant. You may be able to negotiate with the landlord to have him help you pay for some modifications to that in order to get that done, right? Sometimes, not always, right? All right, so, well, let's see. Let's do this one. An encumbrance against property for money, either voluntary or involuntary, is a burden, lien, situs, or waiver. Burden, lien, situs, or waiver. An encumbrance against property for money, either voluntary or involuntary. Yes, I owe money equals I have lien, right? We could have a voluntary lien, like I say, I agree because I know I want to borrow money. I agree to a lien to be put on my property if I want to take out a mortgage. That's a voluntary lien. What do you guys think is an example of an involuntary lien, though? What is an example of an involuntary lien that you can think of? Involuntary. So it shows up whether I like it or not. Shows up whether I like it or not. A mechanic's lien. That's a great one, Lori. A mechanic's lien is an example of an involuntary lien. If I don't pay the roofer who put the roof on my house, he might put a mechanic's lien on me, making sure that he gets paid when the property sells. Exactly. Mechanic's lien is a great one. Judgment lien is another one. A judgment lien. Basically, I'm saying, I get a court judgment against somebody and I put a lien on their property, on their assets to try to collect my money. Somebody asked, what is situs? Situs is like one of my favorite vocabulary words because it's kind of weird. But situs is when the property's value goes up because of location. So location. If we say a property has situs, we know that it's making a difference because of its location. The value is higher because of where it's at. right? So, guys, real quickly, just to go over our crash courses. This coming week, I have the finance crash course coming up on Saturday. For those of you who struggle with finance, which is most of us when we're studying, I would say the place that most people miss points on the exam is either going to be finance or contracts, or if you're in a state that has real estate calculation / math. If you're not a mathy kind of person, then math too. So finance, contracts, and math are ones that people tend to study with. And in the finance crash course, we're going to go over the finance section along with the finance math kind of concepts too. So even if you're in California and you don't get tested on math per se, this is still useful for you, because in order to understand the concepts of finance, sometimes it helps to understand the math behind them too. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on math, but we're going to spend a lot of time on finance as far as concepts go. And we're going to spend about 3 hours together that day just going over some of this finance stuff that's need to know, that hopefully will get you some extra points on that test. And let's see, Stu has the national coming up in November and a math course coming up in November. And of course, if you guys need us at any time to do a private tutoring session with you, you know the button to click on. And also, this is how you email me. Contact Maria if you need to email me anything. So there's Stu, me, and Candace for your private tutoring sessions if you want to book one. All right, guys, it was great to see you today. I will see some of you again tonight. If we missed you on this one on Monday night, don't worry. Just keep an eye out for the next one. And if you need to be added to if you're not on Facebook and you aren't in the Facebook group, you can send me an email and I will add you to the mailing list there. All right, let's see if I missed any questions while I was rattling on here. All right. Doesn't look like it. If I missed your question, I apologize. I think I got them all. That will be... Then I will see some of you this evening. Oh, I see. Worsley asked, how do you join the Facebook group? You will just go on to Facebook and search for Prep Agent Real Estate Study Group, and make sure that you're going to the legit one, which is the one with 49,000 members that has me, Candace, and Stu as the admins on that. So don't get into one of those Connie weird groups. You will know when you get there, because it's weird. Go to the actual Facebook group for Prep Agent and join there. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time today. Have an awesome rest of the day, and I will talk to you soon.